every year we say the same thing. This fight needs to happen. As for the UFC, sometimes we get these fights, but other times fights fall through. In this video, we're going to be talking about my top 5 fights that I want to happen this year. If you guys aren't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share, and all that. Comment questions for the Q&A on Thursday. Every Thursday video with Q&A. If you guys also want to support the channel, you guys can click the join button below, and let's just get into this video. First, I want to list off some of my honorable non-UFC mentions. Rematch between Canelo and Bivol needs to happen this year. Canelo obviously suffering his first loss since Floyd Mayweather. Next up, Brian Garcia versus Gervonta Davis. This fight has been teased already, and so far it's supposed to be in April. Nurmagomedov versus AJ McKee in Bellator. This fight needs to happen. And finally, KSI versus Jake Paul, which might get a lot of hate, but I want to see this fight. So let's actually get into the UFC fights. Starting off the list, we're going to be talking about O'Malley versus Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo retired about 3 years ago, and some would say a little prematurely, right? Some people would say he was just doing it for money, trying to negotiate with the UFC, but is now planning his return to the bantamweight division and wants to recapture the title. The UFC wanted him to fight Aljamain March 4th. Obviously, that fight's not happening because of Aljamain's injury. So why not make an interim title with Sean O'Malley? But you got the former champion and one of the best bantamweights of all time going up against this superstar that's on the rise, a guy that's never been 5 rounds, that's never even fought in a 5-round fight. A fight that I think is actually a rather difficult stylistic matchup for Henry Cejudo. I think the length of Sean O'Malley and the way that he manages distance, especially using teep kicks and the power in his hands, could be a problem for Henry Cejudo. But of course, Henry Cejudo has the experience, the wrestling, the fight IQ. But don't sleep on Sean O'Malley in this matchup because Sean O'Malley is also very technical as well, and I think it's disrespected because a lot of people compare him to the Paddy Pimbletts of the world. People with a lot of hype and fans that don't fight too well. But Sean O'Malley is a guy that's proven to have that superstar ability and also fight really well. I think a lot of people saw that with the P.O. Rion fight. So in my opinion, this fight needs to happen this year. There's no better time for it. The stakes are going to be at all-time high, and let's make it for like April or something like that if Aljamain can't return fast. Or even if Aljamain can return fast, why don't you have him fight the winner of Marlon Vera versus Corey Sandhagen and make this fight on the side? Because let's be honest, Corey Sandhagen and Marlon Vera, whoever wins that fight definitely deserves a title shot more. But let me know who you guys got in this matchup. All right, number 4, John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Obviously, of course, we have the announcement of Cyril Gane versus John Jones happening March 4th. And for this fight to happen, you'd probably have to assume that John Jones would win the fight, and that would definitely make the fight a lot better. But you want John Jones, the light heavyweight GOAT, and honestly the greatest of all time, fight the heavyweight GOAT, the guy that's had the most success at heavyweight. Everyone considers him to be the heavyweight GOAT. And this is a matchup that I think is a bad stylistic matchup for John Jones. In my opinion, John Jones's weakness is the boxing. You could see it in the Dominic Reyes fight, you could see it in the Alexander Gustafsson fight. Tall, rangy boxers. And Stipe Miocic is a guy that shares the same height as John Jones, has really good boxing, and also has that wrestling capability. I honestly kind of favor Stipe in the matchup, as crazy as it sounds. Obviously, there's a lot of X factors. Yes, Stipe's layoff. Stipe last getting brutally knocked out by Francis Ngannou. Stipe's age. There's a lot of things to consider in this matchup that maybe, yes, don't favor Stipe, but either way, this is a fight that needs to happen. Both guys want it, and it might happen in July if John Jones wins. All right, number 3 is a fight that is recently being talked about. I'm talking Jamal Hill versus Alex Pereira. Now, Alex is scheduled to fight Israel Adesanya in April, and in my opinion, it doesn't really matter if Alex wins or loses that fight. I think this fight is still big. To give you some context, Jamal Hill just beat Alex Pereira's coach, Glover Teixeira, battered him across 5 rounds, and is now the light heavyweight champion. And I think if Yuri is not ready, why not give it to Alex Pereira? I mean, there isn't really a clear #1 contender in the light heavyweight division right now anyway. And there's no scheduled matchups that'll help clear up that division at all. That will help us figure out who the #1 guy is and who deserves the title shot. And that would just be a banger fight. Alex Pereira obviously is huge for middleweight and huge, honestly, for light heavyweight. I don't know who I would favor in this matchup. Probably Alex Pereira, but I could also see Jamal Hill winning because he really impressed me in his last performance. Look, I think because of the story, the fight matchup, I mean, that fight is going to be banger. There is no reason not to make this fight. All right, coming in at number 2, we're talking Colby versus Khamzat Chimaev. Honestly, this fight has been talked about since Khamzat Chimaev destroyed Li Jingliang in Abu Dhabi. Colby Covington, the #1 contender, the guy who's given Kamaru Usman the most problems in his career, coming off of a long layoff, a lot of people are wanting to see him fight again. Why not put the #1 contender against a rising star, similar to the Henry Cejudo situation? Khamzat versus Colby would just be a banger fight. First of all, because of the trash talk. Both guys know how to sell a fight. Both guys have so much hype behind them. I feel like the two of them would make for a hilarious UFC press conference. Look, I think the big question mark here is going to be, can Khamzat take down Colby, and how well is he going to be able to control Colby? But of course, Colby is also a really good wrestler, so that's what makes the matchup really interesting. Look, I think another factor, this is going to be the gas tank. If Khamzat can't take Colby out in the first few rounds, will he be able to last to the 4th and 5th? Assuming it's a main event. I think the shorter the fight is, the more it favors Khamzat. I think we might see Colby come in with the Kevin Holland approach. Kevin Holland was like, I want this to be a 5-round fight. Let him try to waste his energy in the first few rounds, and maybe I'll get a chance in the later rounds. I think that's got to be Colby's plan. I think Khamzat will be able to take him down. He's really strong and big, but I don't think he'll be able to submit Colby. I don't don't think he'll be able to get the ground and pound going because I think Colby will be able to scramble. And if they're striking, I don't know who to pick because Colby is getting better at striking. Like, this fight is honestly a 50-50 matchup. I have no idea who would win this fight. I feel like that this is a fight that there's a different winner on any day that they fight, but we'll have to see the matchup to find out. Coming in at number 1, you guys already probably knew what this was. Conor McGregor, obviously almost a 2-year layoff, broke his leg against Dustin Poirier, and there's a lot of talks of his return because he's been teasing his return, a lot of talk of TUF, a lot of talk of Tony Ferguson, but I think the fight to make is Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. And although I'd rather a TUF season with Tony Ferguson or a Jorge Masvidal, if you're looking at Conor McGregor returning and coming back to the top of a division, Michael Chandler is the guy to give. Michael Chandler is in a similar stage of Conor right now. I don't think he's looked at so bad as Conor is, but he has lost to top guys like Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, and Conor has lost to really just Dustin Poirier. I mean, Khabib is retired now. Conor needs to prove that he could still take out a top 5 guy because he's proven that he can't beat the number 1 guy, but if he could beat 2, 3, 4, or 5, he might be in a good position. And Michael Chandler, obviously every single fight that he's had has been just amazing. I think if you're Michael Chandler for this matchup, you got to take down Conor, get him tired early, and then you can pick him apart in the later rounds. But if he's planning to stand with Conor, I think Conor's going to destroy him and knock him out in the first round. And my prediction for this fight early on is I think Conor will win. I think Conor will be able to defend the takedown, and I think he's going to knock him out. Chandler has proven to be pretty reckless in the striking department. Sometimes he gets a little carried away with himself, but also we have to see because Conor's coming off of a brutal injury and a long layoff, so we have to see if he has ring rust at all. But let me know if you guys agree. What fights did I not mention that you guys want to see? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know. Like I said, please leave a like, comment, share, and all that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.